name is Jack Forbes, a longtime International Medical Corps supporter and a member of the Luncheon Committee. Welcome. Today, I'm so thrilled to be finally meeting outside and together in this lovely location in support of this amazing organization. Thank you for being with us. It means a great deal to me, but more importantly, to so many in need around the world. Over the years, the luncheon community has raised more than $25 million to support the works of International Medical Corps. Please join me in welcoming my shero, our friend, Nancy Ossie.
The work that we do at International Medical Corps is so important. It's because we are really making a tangible difference in the lives of people every single day, and you will see that as you hear Nicole and JR talk a little bit about what we're doing in the Ukraine. So we have over 8,000 people working in 30 countries around the world. They're delivering medical help, training, nutrition, water and sanitation, mental health programs, all of the things that we need in our lives that to some extent we take for granted. And they are doing that in environments that are just really tough and dangerous and very, very hard to reach. Our founder, Bob Simon, who started our organization in Afghanistan, said the only way to have a real impact is to invest in people who are invested in their communities. So last year, because of our people around the world, most of them who are local, we reached 18 million people worldwide, many of them in war zones, as I mentioned. We supported 1,600 healthcare clinics with supplies and medicine and staff, and we trained almost 80,000 frontline health workers.
People ask us a lot, how do you do what you do? And I have to kind of look at them strangely because I've got the best job in the world. I get to go into work every day knowing that the problems that we're trying to solve are some of the biggest problems in the world, and that we're doing good work at it. And so it's amazing to be up here. It's amazing to be with all of y'all.
What is the International Medical Corps and your teams seeing on the ground in Ukraine?
It's just so cool to see the Ukrainian people are exactly the same no matter what part you're in. So that's what we're seeing is a country that is defiantly strong in the face of an extremely difficult time. And depending on where you're at in the country, it can be anywhere from going to birthday parties to being in a bomb shelter 18 hours a day.
And I wonder if you could share with me a little bit on the approach the International Medical Corps takes when they're responding to a crisis like this.
When we approach a conflict or a crisis of any sort, may that be an earthquake, hurricane, drought, famine, no matter what we're going into, we look at it in several different stages. The first stage is right at the beginning. We take a lot of pride in knowing that we are going to be among the first people that are on the ground no matter what it is. No matter how suddenly it happens and no matter how long it's been there, we're some of the first to be on the ground. And because of the chaos that happens right when things start, the first part of our response tend to be fairly general. We know from years of experience that if we have a conflict in this part of the world that has this amount of damage, we know that they're going to need A, B, C, D, and E. If we have an earthquake in Nepal, we know what we're going to need. If we have, if there's a hurricane in Haiti, we know what we're going to need for the first 4 or 5 steps. So there's a very rapid general response that goes out right when we start. But then we try to transition as quickly as possible over to what we call a needs-based approach, which is we don't just bring in the things that we know they're going to need. We actually work in the country with the people that are in the country and try and figure out what they need. And the needs are never the same. No matter where you are, even 2 blocks away, they're never the same. And so we kind of look at it in kind of 4 different buckets. We look at it in terms of staffing, space, supplies, and systems. In as much as possible, we try and work through local organizations. And we try to work through local people because, we may have a lot of experience in disasters, but I don't know what it's like in Luhansk. I don't know what it's like in Dnipro, but I know a lot of people that do. We try and take a needs-based approach, work through local organizations, and most importantly, to leave those places that we go into better than they were when we got there. We pride ourselves on, and we're some of the best in the world, I would argue, at building the local capacity of those folks to respond in the future.
Tell me about the people who work in Ukraine and how are they staying safe?
We've been in Ukraine since '99. We've been continuously there since 2014, when the violence started escalating a little bit more. And come February, we had about 20 folks in Mariupol that were doing a range of activities, from mental health to primary care to nutrition, I believe. But when the violence came down on that city, all of them got trapped, all of them, and it took us a month to regain contact with them. Like, it was the most horrible thing to have to watch, because we couldn't make contact with anybody. And getting to talk to Violetta afterward and just watching she was so, I don't know whether regal is the right word. Stoic.
She was stoic, man. She was bad.
She was unshakable, man.
Bad mother woman, man. She was a bad mother.
Yeah, she was.
She was awesome. But
Oh
she was
my
so
gosh.
stoic and so resilient, and she wouldn't cry. She would not cry.
And on the contrary, she probably smiled as much as anybody else did there. She was so, and she wanted to, I was so worried that when we were talking to her that we were going to bring up some bad memories. And she said, no, I want to tell this story. This is a story that needs to be told. And she told us this harrowing story of the fact that they stayed in a bunker for about a week waiting for things to clear during the original shelling of Mariupol. And then they moved from that to a farmhouse, and they were there for at least 2 weeks, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly. And they were breaking down, I remember her telling me about them breaking down the window dressing, the bracing of the window to make fires with, because it was so cold there. And I remember her telling me stories about a couple of elderly people that were there that ended up dying in front of them. And they said it was the most, she said it was the most, demoralizing thing to have somebody around you pass away and still not be able to go anywhere. And through that whole journey, she and her entire team, they just remained just strong and I love the word defiant. I think that's a perfect word for it. And I think of the 20 people that were in Mariupol, I think half of them are back to work. Can you imagine that? Like, after having to leave that place, they are back to work, and they did it because they wanted to. We were like, "No, man, you take as long as you need," but they were like, "No, man, I'm back. I want to be useful again." And golly, that was just the most amazing thing to watch. And getting to talk to her was one of the privileges that I've had throughout this whole thing. It was one of the bright spots.
What's a person or a memory or a situation that you can't seem to shake from your mind?
This most amazing woman came up to us and gave us an earful. She must have been somewhere between 60 and 70 years old. She was a Ukrainian lady, and she gave us a 20-minute set of reasons why all we needed to do was give them support, and they would do everything else. There was no cowering, there was no woe is me, there was give me this and we will make it better. And she was just the most amazing thing. I cannot get her face out of my head, I can't get her voice out of my head, and it was just amazing.
So many of the stories I have been able to do in these really hard places, I've been able to do them because of the support and the logistics and the professionalism and the organization of the IMC.